Skyrim's Civil War, a conflict we are all quite familiar with, considering the game has been released like 30 times now. Nearing the end of the Great War, in 4th Era, year 174, when the Thalmor invaded the Imperial City. The Imperial legions guarding Skyrim had left for Cyrodiil to reinforce the legions there, leaving Markarth extremely vulnerable. The native Reachmen, also known as the Forsworn, took this opportunity to capture the city of Markarth. The Jarl of the Reach, Jarl Hrolfdir, could not stop the uprising and was driven out of the city. The rebellion was successful, and the Reachmen ruled over the Reach as an independent kingdom from 4th Era, year 174 through 176. During these 2 years, they ran a relatively peaceful kingdom, and had been making overtures to become recognized by the Empire as a legitimate kingdom. In 4th Era, year 175, the Great War ended with the signing of the White Gold Concordat. During this time, Jarl Hrolfdir and his son Ingmund, future Jarl of Markarth, sought help from Ulfric Stormcloak to drive out the Reachmen. In exchange, Ulfric Stormcloak was promised free Talos worship, something recently outlawed by the Concordat. Ulfric agreed and marched his men to the gates of Markarth. It stated every official who worked for the Reachmen was killed, even after they had surrendered. Native women were tortured to give up the names of Reachman fighters who had fled the city. Ulfric ordered the death of shopkeepers, farmers, the elderly, and any child old enough to lift the sword who failed to fight with him and his men when they breached the gates of the city. Jarl Hrolfdir ordered Madanach to be executed, but that was overturned by the Silverblood family, making many people question how much authority the Jarl actually had. In Markarth, Jarl Hrolfdir kept his promise to Ulfric and allowed free Talos worship. When the Legion showed to restore order to the city, Ulfric refused to let them in unless they also agreed to free Talos worship. With no other choice, the Empire agreed, breaking their treaty with the Dominion. When the Thalmor discovered this, the Empire was given a choice between arresting Ulfric and his men or risk starting a second war with the Dominion. The Empire agreed and arrested Ulfric with the help of Jarl Hrolfdir. The Stormcloak movement was started by Ulfric Stormcloak shortly after the Markarth incident, with the aim of removing the Empire from Skyrim and turning the province into an independent kingdom. That, along with reinstating Talos worship and expelling or executing all Thalmor in the province. Another motivation behind the uprising is the belief that the Empire had become a puppet state for the Thalmor and no longer held the right to rule over Skyrim. The Stormcloaks claim to hold onto Old Nordic tradition and recruit those who share these principles. They consider themselves the true sons and daughters of Skyrim, since they are the only ones who didn't bend the knee to the Thalmor. They see the Thalmor's influence over the Empire as a threat to their very way of life. Prior to the Markarth incident, the people still had private shrines to Talos, but after the Thalmor heard the Empire had broken terms of the treaty and demanded the arrest of Ulfric and his militia. At this point, the Emperor was forced to allow the Thalmor access to Skyrim and give them free rein to drag people from their homes if they worshipped Talos. In 4th Era, year 201, Jarl Ulfric arrived at the Gates of Solitude, requesting an audience with High King Torygg. The king's court expected him to request secession from the Empire. Instead, Ulfric challenged Torygg to a one-on-one duel. King Torrig will back the claims of fair combat if you meet and speak with him in Sovngarde, though supporters of the Empire claim it was murder. For this, the Empire arrested Ulfric and sent him to Helgen for execution, though Alduin's interference allowed Ulfric to escape and return to Windhelm. Now, let's discuss the Thalmor dossier that can be found during the Diplomatic Immunity quest. Status: Asset: Uncooperative. Dormant: Emissary level approval. Description: Jarl of Windhelm, leader of the Stormcloak Rebellion. Imperial Legion veteran. Background: Ulfric first came to our attention during the First War against the Empire, when he was taken as a prisoner of war during the campaign for the White Gold Tower. Under interrogation, we learned of his potential value, son of the Jarl of Windhelm, and when he was assigned as an asset to the interrogator, who is now First Emissary Elenwen. He was made to believe information obtained during his interrogation was crucial in the capture of the Imperial City. The city had in fact fallen before he had broken. He was then allowed to escape. After the war, contact was established, and he has proven his worth as an asset. The so-called Markarth incident was particularly valuable from the point of view of our strategic goals in Skyrim, although it resulted in Ulfric becoming generally uncooperative to direct contact. Operational notes: direct contact remains a possibility, under extreme circumstances, but in general, the asset should be considered dormant. As long as the Civil War proceeds in its current indecisive fashion, we should remain hands-off. The incident at Helgen is an example where an exception had to be made. Obviously, Ulfric's death would have dramatically increased the chance of an Imperial victory, and thus harmed our overall position in Skyrim. Note: the coincidental intervention of the dragon at Helgen is still under scrutiny. The obvious conclusion is that whoever is behind the dragons also has an interest in the continuation of the war. But we should not assume, therefore, that their goals align with ours. A Stormcloak victory is also to be avoided. So, even direct aid to the Stormcloaks must be carefully managed. So, by going through this dossier, we discovered that Ulfric has been an asset of the Thalmor since before the Civil War began, and even to the extent of the Thalmor potentially aiding the Stormcloaks, with the sole purpose of keeping the war going and the Empire weakened so that Thalmor may strike again. Now, I won't be going over each individual quest for the Civil War, because I figure most people have a grasp on that part of the story by now. I know there will be some difference of opinion, but I believe the Empire is the best way to go, considering Ulfric himself is a puppet for the Thalmor, making his entire rebellion and argument null and void. While the idea of an independent Skyrim sounds like a great idea, if it's run by a Thalmor puppet, then it's no better than being run by the Empire. But anyway, I think I'm going to end this off here. If anyone has any requests or recommendations for lore videos, just leave them in the comments. But I thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.